So welcome everyone to this week seminar. So today our speaker is Catarina Espirito Santo. Catarina completed her PhD in particle physics at the University of Lisbon, working on the Delphi experiment. She was then a research fellow at CERN, still working on Delphi until the very end of LEP and beyond. When she came back at LEAP, she started to work on very high energy cosmic rays, first in USO and then in Auger. In 2015, Catarina decided to do a master in science communication at the Faculty of Social and Human Sciences, the Universidade Nova de Lisboa. And since then, she's our guru of the communication at LEAP. She's the researcher, the coordinator of the LEAP communication group. And in 2016, she started the LEAP Echo office with a bunch of other people to work preparing for the exhibition celebrating the 30 years of 30 years of LEAP. So today, Catarina, we talk about everything about LEAP communication. So please, Catarina, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Valentina, for this introduction. I will try now to share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about LEAP communications, but in the context that we are now at a point that we should upgrade and review and upgrade our communication strategy. So this is more like, I'm going to give you enough information so that you can help us in the brainstorming that we are starting now, also with the LEAP management, to prepare the communication strategy for the next 5 years or so. So let me see if I can, yeah. So this is going to be a past, present, and future kind of talk, because as I said, I want to give you enough information so that you can judge what has been done before, what was the starting point, what we know already that we need to change, and okay, to get started in this kind of brainstorming. So starting with the past, I want to tell you a bit this story that Valentina said already about the master in science communication, because the subject of my thesis was exactly the construction of the LEAP communications office. So I'm going to use a part of the final presentation of the master, just to give you an idea of how we proceeded and how we built the first communication strategy of LEAP some 5 or 6 years ago. So the thesis was organized like that. I'm not going to go in details into this, of course, but it was all built around the process of starting this communication office. And I'm going to present it in a broader way, like this, like a kind of journey. I'm not going to bother you about why we should do this. I think everyone is convinced that science institutions need to communicate. I don't need to tell you that. But I want to spend some time on where we started from, in which conditions we started, and some things we did already along the way. So where did we start from? This part you know very well, but of course this history and the culture of the institution is an important part when building the communication strategy. So LEAP was created in the context of Portugal's accession to CERN. So the part of this question of the internalization of Portuguese science is really at the basis of LEAP, and also the collaboration between different universities and people from different institutions getting together for a common goal. The number of people was very small in the beginning, so many things have changed, and LEAP had to gain some structure to cope with the new demands. So now we are a bit more people, and we keep being the international reference institution for research in experimental particle physics and associated technologies. now not only experimental, of course, and we are the reference partner of CERN. So these things are written not only in the communication strategy, but in the statutes of LEAP, in the bylaws of the institution. So these are the things we have to start from. We are also an associate laboratory, and we are spread in the country. We have notes in Lisbon, Coimbra, and Minho. So 5 years ago, we organized activities at LEAP, not only in scientific areas, but according to their goals. These were 3 pillars. So the fundamental science part, the innovation and technology part, and the societal part. So, and in each of them, you have particle physics and astroparticle physics. You have the related applications and technologies, and also the sharing with the community, not only with the school community, which was always very much considered at LEAP, but also in a wider sense, and in the sense of addressing societal changes through science and technology. So one thing I have to say before starting is that outreach and support to education were always present at LEAP. So we didn't start that 5 or 6 years ago, of course. They were even, one can say that engagement of science and society at LEAP started before LEAP itself. So you have here the well-known poster of this exhibition that was held in Técnico in 1981. And I say that this is related to LEAP in the sense that most of the LEAP founders were highly engaged in preparing this exhibition. And this was a kind of start 40 years ago of the gathering of the community. It is, and the High Energy Physics Conference of the European Physics Society that was held in Portugal in the same year. And this was kind of taking off of this community that 5 years later started LEAP. And I have here the names of the pioneers in outreach and support to education at LEAP. Of course, after this, many other people followed this path. But okay, this must be stated that this has always been present in the activities of LEAP. What we did start in 2016, more or less, was the part devoted to institutional communications, both internal and external, and also a view of strategic communication of the laboratory. Of course, this includes science communication. We have to talk about particle physics, CERN, LEAP, and we built this communication office, so a structure that didn't exist before. Of course, these things were more or less done according to the needs, but there was not really a structure or a thinking behind that. That's what we started at that time. And okay, I said we have to talk about particles, CERN, LEAP. Okay, about particles, I didn't resist putting here this very nice this thing in red is a piece of a letter from the editor of the Manchester Guardian to the science editor, who was very enthusiastic about the discovery of the neutron. And okay, the reaction was not the best one. I do hope you understand that what you sent us about the neutron, although extremely important from the scientific point of view, is extremely difficult reading for the common person. So sometimes particle physics has this thing of the complexity of the concepts and of the distance to the daily life of people. But okay, did this change today? Okay, when we were preparing this exhibition, we noticed a bit the same kind of reaction. So we worked with a team of designers and communicators, and some of the reactions they had were a bit similar, as you can see here. But this is not the full picture, of course. And we can identify a lot of things in particle physics that make it easy in a way to communicate to people, like the fact that it deals with the fundamental and the inspiring questions about the universe, the overwhelming scales, the international collaborations it puts together. even the beauty and the symmetry of the theories, and some mediatic recent discoveries. So it's not that hard. So the second thing is we have to communicate is CERN, since we are the reference institution for the connection with CERN. But okay, I put here this picture from the foundation years. So this is the start of the construction of the CERN site in Meyrin, Switzerland. And from the beginning, CERN was related to the reconstruction of Europe after the war and to the international collaboration with science for peace. So this is these are things that are always connected to its culture and history. But if we travel to CERN today, in the same place, this is the picture that most of you have of the Large Hadron Collider. If we arrive there by chance in the 4th of July 2012, we can fall in the middle of the announcement of the Higgs boson discovery by the ATLAS and CMS experiments at the LHC. And this was really the most mediatic moment for CERN in its history. This is the board with all the newspapers pieces at CERN that it was made of at the time. You can see here Publico, also with one of the most well-known CMS events. And here, okay, you see that also talking about CERN is not that hard. Most people now know about CERN. And our conclusion 5 years ago was that the real problem was not particle physics, was not CERN, was really talking about LEAP. But before that, let me just say that it's not only CERN. After that, we had already another Nobel Prize closely related to our activities. For the neutrinos. Here you see the Nobel laureate Art McDonald from the SNOW experiment in Lisbon, so giving autographs to a bunch of students. And at the time, while the spokespeople of the two collaborations involved got the Nobel, the members of the collaborations participating in the discovery of neutrino oscillations got the Breakthrough Prize 2016, and this is José Maneira, the PI of the LEAP neutrino group, and one of the people awarding the breakthrough, like several other members of the group at LEAP. So the visibility was high, but of course you can only profit from these things if you have a structure and a strategy, and if you are prepared. Events themselves help, but cannot do all the job. And the situation is a bit like this. So people know about CERN, about the Higgs, but the relation to LEAP is not immediate, and one can say that somehow we didn't have a structure at the time, and we didn't profit from the advantage that this could have been. Since then, we are trying to change it, but it's not always easy. But still, let's see what we did in these years. So we started, as I said, from this exhibition, particles from the Higgs boson to dark matter, celebrating the 30 years of LEAP. And the reason why it was so important was that first, it was the first initiative for outreach and science communication that we did really in a professional way with a company of designers and communicators, which worked together with a group of people at LEAP. It was a very intense and complete work to really produce something also with a budget that usually we don't have in this kind of initiatives in scientific institutions. And also because it has put together a group of people from LEAP, which were motivated for communication, and then started the communication office. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the procedures of preparing the exhibition, but the message is that it helped us to create these bridges between science communication and institutional communication, between internal and external communication, and also between people, and helped us create a group to start this effort at LEAP. From there, okay, we took off and wrote this communication strategy. This is public on the LEAP internal intranet, the LEAP intranet, the internal net. And what you have there, okay, are the usual sections in the communication strategy, objectives, then the foundations like the mission, positioning, vision and values of the institutions, key message, the target audiences, and then you have to specify the different messages for each audience. And then also for each audience, the communication channels, tools, and activities that are going to be developed. Then the two final parts, the branding, so building the LEAP brand, and the evaluation mechanisms were really just starting at the time. They were not giving enough importance. And we hope that in the new strategy they can be much more developed and play a much stronger role. So at the time, the really important part was to clarify things, to clarify the needs, to clarify the intentions, and to make a coherent picture in which everything is aligned, in which the communication strategy is aligned with the strategy of the institution, in which we make an effort, we still didn't get there, but to make an effort that the message and the visual identity and the identity of the lab that you propagate in the different channels makes sense. And also to have priorities, since it's very difficult for us to have enough resources, especially human resources, but also enough budget to do everything. We really have to make choices, and we cannot go in every direction at the same time. So this is basically what is written here. And also the other aspect is to call for participation and to really help people know what we expect from them and where they can help. So at the time, our priority audiences were first the LEAP community, so internal communications were chosen as needing special attention at the time, because before going outside, you really need to strengthen the internal part. Then university students, graduate students that are the potential master and the PhD students at LEAP. So at the time there was even worse than now a big crisis to attract students, especially because it was at the time we had less researchers as professors at universities. Now it's improving again. And also the communication with our more direct peers like the LEAP associates, FCT, other scientific institutions. Another community that was a priority but was not put here because it was in quite good shape was the school community. So we decided that it was a priority for LEAP, but it didn't need immediate attention as much as these three. So what did we do? In each of them, we did some actions to really know more about the problem and know more how we could proceed. In the internal communications, we did a survey to the community about the instruments and contents of the LEAP internal communications to see what people thought of it, what they felt was more needed, and we acted according to this, to the results. For the university students, I did also within my master works a strategic communication analysis to search for the best approaches, the best insights and messages to attract students. So what could make LEAP more attractive and distinguish LEAP from other institutions. And then for the communication with our peers, we made a full revision of some instruments and practices like the reports and so on. So the first results were these. So for the internal part, we created the newsletter, which now is going through a small crisis because we have no time to make it regular enough, but okay, it will get better. We reorganized completely the intranet to have more useful information. We decided that we needed to be more dynamic in sharing information in the news, in emails, whatever. People were always saying that emails were not a good thing, that they wanted more structured channels of communication like the newsletter and so on, but the practice shows a bit the opposite, that sending an email when there is something new in the news, in the website, is really much more effective than anything else, and people tend not to read so much the newsletter or the social media or other means, but this is something to be thought for the future. About the strategic communication analysis, the thing that came out was that the international environment of LEAP, international collaborations, was really the main message, the distinctive thing. But there were others that were useful. One of them, for example, was the diversity of the profiles that LEAP can accommodate in students. So from the more fundamental physics to applications, from theory to experiment, and even in different disciplines now. For the revision of the communication instruments, okay, we made the full revision of the annual reports. We created the public report, which didn't exist. We tried to be more regular and with the LEAP bulletin, so it only comes out a couple of times per year, but it is now more professional and more aligned also with the strategy of the institution in the kind of topics that it covers. Also below there is a news on Publico about the LHC results. In this case it's the Higgs boson, but we decided to be also more active on this part, trying to connect to the media, even if this was not one of the priorities. We couldn't make this one of the priorities because we didn't have enough resources for everything, but we decided that we would just try to use as best as possible the opportunities that would appear. So at the time, this was a few years ago, the conclusion was that obviously we were not yet there. Still today we are not yet there, but some results appeared. So in 2017, the International Advisory Committee of LEAP was happy with the results, saying that this was reaching a new level of professionalism, and they were happy with the creation of the LEAP Eco office. We were not all that happy, but we thought that okay, we needed more participation. It was good that so many people were giving us suggestions and ideas, but we badly needed people to collaborate too. We were suffering from pressure towards other tasks that are not really communication, mostly management, education, these things that always happen in the communication offices. So after that, okay, this thing of the master and the thesis was completed. I put here the list of probably not complete of the people that collaborated in this initial effort, and there were many. And we move to the present. Where do we stand now? So I'm going to give you an overview of our thoughts about what we achieved and what we didn't, and what changed in the global context around LEAP. So present is not really the most fantastic thing. As you know, we are in the middle, or hopefully coming out of the pandemic. This made clear that we also need to include a crisis communication plan. It can be internal crisis or something external, but we had, like CERN and many other organizations, we had to adapt in the beginning to a complete change of the way people work and the way people meet, and this was a bit of an effort, because we concluded that many organizations hadn't thought about this possibility, of course. Then we also concluded that LEAP made quite a few nice efforts to help fighting the pandemic, both in computing and in developing instrumentation, whatever. And we needed to be better prepared to communicate these things, both at LEAP and outside. Sometimes it took some time until we actually knew about what was going on. So this should be better made. Also, everything is changing, and not everything is bad. We were able also to make some events with a wider reach, both geographic and social, so about other teams, other topics that proved able to reach more people than our usual community. Also, in these last few years, LEAP lost 3 of its founders and directors, so people that were from the beginning, José Maria Gaga and Gaspar Barreira in Lisbon, and more recently, Armando Policarpo in Coimbra. So these people are part of our history and culture and identity. So this had to be communicated, and now we are preparing a part of our site of tribute to these people with everything that we did in the moment. But this was something that really marked the last 5 or 6 years. Then we had a lot of effort, as all of you know, spent in evaluations and requests for funding or for positions. So this is something everybody knows. We had FCT evaluation of the research units in which LEAP was classified as excellent. And you have here an inspiring sentence from the report of the panel. Then we had not so inspiring associate laboratory call more recently, but okay, LEAP stays as an associate laboratory as it is since 2001. And it's now clear for everybody the need to increase the efforts and the efficiency in international funding. So this is really a top priority for LEAP now. And in the scientific employment, we did have some successes. So everything is very unpredictable, very, very unstable, but somehow some situations got solved and we seem to be a bit better than a few years ago. But still things look unpredictable and unstable. So meanwhile, LEAP is expanding and is expanding in several ways. So there were several groups joining LEAP in the last few years, and they are widening LEAP in number of people, in reach within particle physics, because we are getting more to the phenomenology side, and also enlarging to completely new areas, like in the case of the SPAC group that joined us more recently. It's a pity that, we still didn't meet many of these people apart from Zoom, because the situation is what it is, but we hope it changes fast. Then we didn't have opportunities like in the 5 previous years, like Higgs-like discoveries, but we have lots of excellent data from the LHC phase 2, but not only. We have lots of important results. We are in new projects in several areas. We have a lot of technology projects and new ideas going on, and so there is much going on. And okay, also CERN is in this phase of preparing to communicate things that are not Higgs-like the discoveries, but convincing people that we are still doing a lot, that things are progressing and much is going on. There is also this infrastructure roadmap that FCT published in 2020, and really LEAP is in several of them, from computing to medical physics to whatever, and we have now essential partnerships with other institutions, not only CERN and other international institutions, but also at national level. So LEAP is also expanding its structure, so we are getting more organized. So this picture is from 2014-15. So this was the cover of the LEAP activity report. There was only one, and this was the organogram of the organization. And as you might know from this year's report, this is where we are now. So we have this nice looking report and a much more complete structure at LEAP. So with more boxes and the things much more organized, which is probably which is really very important in a laboratory that is becoming much bigger, with 200 members and reaching now 100 integrated researchers. So one of the things that we tried to do with the communications was to make people think about this need to add more structure and to add more mechanisms for communication and for organization at LEAP, and in particular to not put everything inside the ECHO office. So from there we tried to create some new structures that became independent in the meantime. So we started with these 3 boxes: institutional communication, then education and outreach, and the advanced training. So the special outreach for attracting students to LEAP was in the beginning inside LEAP ECHO. But these are, as you might remember, some the early conclusions that we already understood, that this pressure towards other tasks was not a good thing for us. And also that we needed to enlarge our reach in communications and leave the rest. So some good news are the fact that we now have this grants office with Rita and Natalia, and with the help of Margarida in Coimbra. Because, okay, we never did that job, but there was some pressure to try to help or to accommodate, or which was not good for us and not good for people. So now there is something really dedicated and professional effort on that. This is good. Also, the advanced training office became independent in the meantime. So now there is, since a few years, and with a close connection to ECHO still, but there is a dedicated effort. Here you can see a recent poster produced to announce the different opportunities that there are at LEAP for advanced training. So this was done by LEAP ECHO, by Sonia Ribeiro, who is the designer working with us now. Okay, the flagship program of the advanced training, everybody knows, is the LEAP Internship program, which is really working well and giving a lot of visibility to LEAP in different institutions, even the ones we are not directly related to. So this is, most groups are already involved in it, and it's really important that people collaborate. The big challenge, as appointed by the advisory board, is really the part of the students that are already of LEAP. So the follow-up and the mentoring of the master and PhD, and especially PhD students at LEAP, to try to improve there. Okay, these things became independent of LEAP ECHO, which is good. We have also something that is more or less autonomous, which is the program for the school community. This was highlighted in the evaluation of LEAP, and also in the associated laboratory call as one of the successful programs of LEAP. Okay, the challenge here, sorry. The challenge here is to keep all this, but to find the resources to go further and to have more hands-on activities and to, sorry, I'm having a technical problem. Okay, to have more hands-on activities and to develop the LEAP educational lab that we started a couple of years ago, but is more or less stopped due to the pandemic, but also to the fact that we need really dedicated resources on that. So moving really, then another thing I have to mention is the precious help we had from graduate students of LEAP in the last few years. One thing was this project that we started, SciComm, Science Communication with and for Students. So this was meant to be soft skill training for the students, and it worked well for a couple of years. It's now stopped due to the pandemic and also to the fact that we didn't have it was hard to keep everything, but we do believe that this is an important program that maybe now can be done within the advanced training or in collaboration with the advanced training. So this was a way of putting them collaborating with us and also learning about science communication. It should be more structured probably, but also I want to mention that some of the master and PhD students at LIP are really part of our core team at LIPECO, and some essential activities really depend on them. And you can see this here in this list of people working with us. So the LIPECO is coordinated by me and Pedro Abreu. Then we have dedicated resources for design and multimedia, Sonia, who is now with us since 1 year. And also Enrique in Minho. He's not really working for LIPECO full time, but okay, he's a precious help, and he's doing this kind of activities mostly. Then we have since the beginning, the collaboration from Hugo and Carlos from the computing group. So without them, it would not have been possible at all for everything that concerns the web and the design and whatever else. And then the graduate students, as I said. So right now, Ana Sofia Inácio and Mateo Pizano are really taking care of most of our presence on the social media with the help of Sonia and myself. But really, it's on one side, it's really good that they are really willing to collaborate so much and that we manage to involve students. On the other hand, it's not that good that they become essential manpower, human power in the group, because we don't have other people to do the job. But okay, it's a balance that we have to clarify. Then also this year, Ricardo Barroel, within a PhD course at Técnico, developed important work for us, contents for a new flyer on deep and particle physics with the design of Sonia also. And then we have researchers that are a regular presence in LIPECO and in the LIPECO meetings, mainly Conceição, Sofia, Ricardo, Filipe and Nuno. Of course, they do not have much time to really do the work, but they are essential in creating some critical mass, in discussing the things, in helping us choose directions. But then, of course, we don't expect them to have a lot of time to invest in direct work. But it's important, because otherwise we are really too few people to even brainstorm. Then, okay, this is the LIPECO SWOT that I've presented 1 month ago or so to the advisory board. And this is probably a good starting point for looking into the future and for deciding what are our priorities. So we point it has strengths, the fact that we have a motivated team with the participation of PhD students and with different competencies. This is a good thing. And then that we have the support from the management and the close relationship, and also from most of the community. We have partners, national, international, namely all the things that are organized for communications at CERN and the different groups, and also Ciência Viva and the Portuguese Physical Society at national level. And we did have some successes with our primary goals, with the priority audiences and so on. Then on the weaknesses part, okay, we have really lack of dedicated human resources and material resources, because most of the people that are involved have many other things to do. And we have this problem that either we do day-to-day tasks like updating the news, producing the newsletter, whatever, or we embark in larger projects like producing materials for the communication of LIP or videos or whatever. And we really have a hard time with these conflicting priorities, and so every time that something bigger or not predicted shows up, it has a strong impact on our day-to-day tasks. So this is a very hard to manage situation. Also, this program of psychom training for students, but not only, did not follow, and we think it would be an important thing to do. Then concerning opportunities, okay, we are now revising the strategy, and this is an opportunity to do more and to do better and to rethink what we are doing. And we think that everyone would agree that on general terms, the thing we need to do is to build a more solid, but especially wider reputation for LEAP. This is what we said already before, after the Higgs boson. And this is mostly to be done at national level, and the first target is the national scientific system at large. We also have new people at LEAP, new groups, several of them with experience in communication and interest in communication. So this could be a great opportunity, and also the fact that now we have dedicated human resources for design. So the visual identity of LEAP is something that we can improve, and now we have the means to do it. And also we have partnerships with different institutions that can help, namely CERN. Then for the threats, and then, okay, something that I don't know if you see, in my case it's not visible, but is that we are embarking on a new thing, which is to have research projects in communication. We just submitted a PTDC proposal, which would be a way of expanding our activities and goals, but also of trying to attract dedicated funding for the group. Then the threats are, in fact, the fact that we didn't yet succeed to build a wider reputation for LEAP in the national scientific system. And this risks this negative cycle that within the lack of success compromises the resources we get, and this compromises again success. So we should avoid this cycle and just review the strategy and try to do more and better. And then the thing that we are always in a low funding context, and sometimes this compromises the will to put money on non-research activities, even if they are important for the lab overall. Okay, so this is where we stand, and we have now to look at the future, and we are going to do this. I'm going to do this now in two ways. The first thing is telling you about a few things we know already, and then what we plan to do more to discover the things we don't know yet, how to do or in which direction to go. So a few things we know already is that we have really to articulate strategies, and first with the management and the community at LEAP. So we have to agree on where we want to go and what are the priorities for the lab, and the communication must be aligned with that. And also we have structural partnerships, and we have to articulate things with them. For example, with CERN it's easy because they have a strong communication machinery, and we just have to place ourselves to bring what they do to Portugal and to find the local national angle and take advantage of the much they have done already. In other cases, it's not so clear. For example, in cases like INCD or Prototer or local or national activities we are on, this is very important to clarify who does what in what concerns communication, and what is the role of LEAP? Is the communication done, and where do we place ourselves in this, or shouldn't we be getting more visibility from that? That's a question we have to ask. For example, to give you an example, INCD is present in many institutions, including, for example, in the Jean Paul Foundation. They use the computing resources of INCD, and LEAP is the main technical partner of INCD, and then is managing the technical resources. But probably these people don't know what LEAP is or that LEAP exists. So this might mean that we are not taking advantage from the communication point of view of the potential of these things. Also, Prototerra probably needs to do more on communication. It's maybe not the priority, it's funding, but the things are related, and we need to place we need to see how to place ourselves, because we are not leading the thing. We cannot do it ourselves, but it has to be done as a group and as a consortium, so that we can take more advantage of that. Another aspect, if we want to go to greater visibility and wider publics, as I said, the main thing is the national scientific system, and there you probably have to go through the media. But one reflection one can do is what gives high visibility to research institutions. So why do you know certain research institutions in Portugal? Why everybody knows certain research institutions in Portugal? And probably the answer is, okay, apart from the budget that might be very different from ours, there are two things that help a lot. One is having very mediatic researchers, so some stars, as people call them, or to have like the kind of research that everybody cares about, like the cure, searching for the cure for cancer or whatever else. So these are the two lines. So the visibility of the researchers or the visibility of the research. And we don't have top resources on that, but we can do more with what we have. So this is something to think about. How can we position and choose some of our activities and some of our people to be better positioned for that and to appear more. We do have close relations with the media. It's not very hard. Unfortunately, there are very few science journalists in Portugal, and we know them. But maybe also approaching them and trying to understand what we can do better, apart from sending the usual press releases, many from CERN, but not only. We can also try to learn how to do this better, but how to present this research in a serious way, but that shows better to people how it is useful to them, can be, and also to find some researchers that can help in this job are probably the solutions. Then also, if we want the rest of the scientific system to know about us, it's certainly not talking about particle physics, because there are not so many direct partners in particle physics in Portugal. We are the reference institution, but what we have noticed is that we can talk to them about other things. And computing is something that LEAP provides to the others, and maybe they should know about that. Other things are societal themes. For example, in the 11th of February, the day of women and girls in science, we had a debate which proved that we can reach out to other labs in teams like this that are transversal, and we can have networks and organize things with them. For example, I spoke about Fundação Champalimau before, about computing. They use our resources, but also we meet them usually in things like, in initiatives like the Soapbox Science, which is about women in science and about science communication, or the SciComm conference of science communication, the National Science Communication Conference. So we have to go wider on the teams than just the science, but then of course in the science, it's also good to look for networks and partnerships that help us to go beyond our direct partners for physics. Then, of course, the visual identity is a fundamental tool. And as I said, we were talking about the branding and these kind of things in the first strategy, but it was just a starting point that at the time Carlos insisted that should be there, and it is right. It is really an important part of this. There is a lot of great work that they are doing, Carlos, Hugo, Sonia, on this. It includes trying to have a more coherent presence and image of LIP across the different media, the different channels, and includes also the preparation of an updated logo of LIP, which is something that might raise interest and polemic at the same time. But this is the subject for another full communication seminar. So I will just leave here the teaser for that, but will not show it today. Then I said already that we are going for research in communication. This is just a starting point. We are not hoping for much from this PTDC. We have little hopes that it is funded, but we hope to go on with this project, if not in this framework, in another one, and to try to get it funded and to move forward. It's about the communication of fundamental science and can be also used to make bridges with other institutions not working in particle physics or in physics for that matter, because it can be used in a more general way. And also it has an important part of evaluation of the activities, which is something where we also need to progress. So for our internal organizational matters, okay, I will not bother you very much, but we do need to go more specific on the plan, so not stop at the place where you say what are the channels and the activities and the means. We usually have to make yearly plans with calendar and budget, and make clear for people where and when they can participate, and this should be presented in the beginning of the year. This was tried, I tried this before, but it was not respected even inside the group, so it didn't go out. So we should also organize better our priorities and not try to run in different directions, because we cannot, in the end, we cannot do everything at the same time. And now we are okay for the design part, I would say, and the place where we need people, it's to produce contents and the tools for communication, and this includes both writing, the news, our publications, whatever, and also to produce hardware. There are several colleagues, especially in Coimbra, but also in Lisbon, working on that hardware for outreach, but they really do this on the free time, and things are moving slower than they should. Okay, now just a very quick word on the research that is needed to discover more. These were the things that we know already, and we have to see how we get out of here. Okay, first, a more theoretical view about, okay, our starting point is this picture, is that the LIP has its own identity, which is made of its behaviors and internal ways of doing things, its symbols and the things it is attached with, and also the way it is communicated. And an important part of this is visual identity, an important part of this identity. Okay, then this is projected into an external image, which is a kind of immediate picture people have about an institution. In most cases, we are at the stage in which there is no immediate image, and this is what we have to change. But most of all, we want to build a solid reputation and a wider reputation. This is the thing, which is the judgment, which depends not only on the way we communicate, also on the performance of the lab, of course, and these things have to go all together. And this list there is the characteristics that usually have institutions with a good, solid reputation, and the characteristics of their communication too. So this thing of communicating in a consistent way is one of the important things to consider. Put in an even more global picture, so we have LIP as an organization with its culture and history, and its strategy, global strategy, has an organization, and this goes into the construction of our identity, our organization identity. A good part of it is the visual identity, but there are more things. And then the reputation is there. It depends on this and also on the performance. And the things we want to go now is to really see how we can manage this organizational identity to develop the reputation. So we need to see first what kind of image and reputation we want to project. And then we need to audit our current procedures. So audit the communication and the visual and design audit. This is already being done and it's being renovated. And the good news is that we have a master student from the Science Communication Master at University of Minho, who is going to do this work from an outside perspective. So this is going to be an independent view of all our procedures and of all our wishes for the future. So I think this is going to be very, very productive and useful. So I will just end here. Sorry if I took a bit more than my time, but okay, I think we have still a bit of time for discussion. Thank you for your attention.